Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Hello, all of you out there. I hope you are enjoying going into spring, and with Easter coming up, you got all those Easter baskets and golden eggs and everything like that, ready and raring to go for the Easter Bunny and the little uns to have some fun and having a Easter egg hunt, because it is all about the fun. But according to them, it's really all about, who can get the most eggs and where's my prize. Lots of candy. It's like a over pastel Halloween. The best way to compare the two, so to speak. But of course, after all holidays or before, there is some sex. The parents have to have some fun, or the adults overall, and usually a little bit of bang bang in the bed. But it's not really fun if there is, something wrong. There are sex hazards out there. Yes, I said it. Sex hazards. And generally, all we think about is STDs. Because that's the biggest sex hazard out there. But for, men, for the most part, another one is, getting someone pregnant that you didn't want to get pregnant. Never, that's another one. But we're going to go over some, because that's the topic for today, some surprising sex hazards. Not to turn your nose away from sex, but the things have happened. You can watch those TV shows like ER. And the live ER shows, like those reality TV shows where you see someone come in and the doctors, you're in there and seeing how it runs and all that good stuff. And there's been a few times that people have come in there and it has been a sexual emergency. Very interesting to watch if you are ever in the mood for something to somewhat binge on. Watch that. It is really good. But, this is when those good times in the bed go surprisingly wrong. Not expecting it, of course, because sex is great for our health. Awesome calorie burning exercise. On top of that, it helps your blood pressure, improves your sleep, and it boosts your immune system, which is always, always, always good, especially right now. So get a boost in. However, we all know that there are some things that you don't want to happen, and there are ways to somewhat avoid them as well. But let's get it going with those hazards. A penis fracture. Now, most people, if you say this, yeah, the man can have erectile dysfunction. There are sexual problems. A link, winky, everything. But when it comes to you actually broke your penis, it's kind of funny to listen to that, but it does happen. They can break their penis. And there's no bones in the penis, but yes, you can break it. A penile fracture generally occurs when the penis is erect, is suddenly bent, causing a tear in the tunica. Albuginea membrane. Now, this particular membrane on the penis surrounds the core of the penis. So very, very, very important. It is responsible for the erection, the lovely boner that we like to see. If it tears, obviously, what happens? Blood leaks out to the surrounding tissues. And then you have it, a penile fracture. Those particular men who have experienced a penile fracture, you will actually hear a cracking sound, and then all of a sudden you will endure some severe pain, swelling, dark bruising of the penis. And it's usually when you fracture your penis, it occurs when, men are really, you're really participating in some seriously vigorous sex or aggressive masturbation. So you can fracture your penis. And usually, a penile fracture can occur like anytime the penis is thrust against a solid surface, like the perineum. And that is obviously that area between the anus and the scrotum, which is all of where it's really nerve packed and you can get sexually aroused if played with. So in women, obviously is between our vulva and the anus, but we get more pleasure out of it than you do. Now, if you do experience a penile fracture, seriously go to the emergency room. And they are going to tell you if you fractured it or not, and they'll do that obviously through the physical exam. Very, very important. We can't have you like that. And it's usually, believe it or not, in most cases, surgery is recommended. And if you leave it untreated, it can obviously lead to what all men do not want, erectile dysfunction and deformity. I know there are individuals out there, and they'll tell you, oh, my penis bends. It's bent. That may just have been a penile fracture that they did not seek medical help for. Who's to know? Or it might be some form of a deformity, and they just never really went to get it checked out or anything along that way, because, it's there. It might be something that they don't mind seeing they've worked with. I wouldn't suggest that, but there are individuals out there who do have it. So, just to let you know, another sex hazard where good sex goes terribly wrong. For vaginal cuts and tears. Now we're on the female side. Now, usually, well, not usually, but for the most part, if you're sexually active, you will experience a vaginal cut or tear at least once or twice in your lifetime. If you're really sensitive, it might be a little bit more than that. Who is to say? Now, obviously these cuts and tears make it a very, very uncomfortable and or painful for the woman sexually. But they aren't considered actually serious, not like a penile fracture. Unless, of course, obviously, the pain is excruciating, making all things very much difficult. Abdominal pain, all that stuff. Do seek your doctor. But even if you have them, and you go see your gynecologist anyway, because you're speaking with them, they can check, make sure, tell you how bad or good it is. And I don't think you want to be playing around with that. Unlike a man, it is not noticeable. Again, they are outies, we are innies. So, females out there, if you do experience, please go to your doctor just to peace of mind and let them know. As if you continue, you might be making more damage than you even thought there was. Now, another thing for a woman, vaginal dryness. Oof. And this is actually the most common cause of vaginal cuts and tears. Now, it could be just for the fact that you were not aroused enough in order to, produce your own lubricant, to get that vagina wet. You also may be going through a hormonal change that you didn't even realize that you were going through. There are ways to relieve it, though, ladies. Obviously, use lubricants. And it's obviously water-based, because you don't want to add any fire to that, fuel to that fire any more than what it is. Yes, I was going to say fire to that fuel, going in the opposite direction, because it probably feels that way. And that will help with relieving some of that dryness. And make sure that you do check the label on it, as some ingredients like glycerin or lidocaine can cause that irritation or discomfort as well, even though that lidocaine is a numbing agent. Now, there are some other things you need to know about some lubricants there, ladies, with regards to this. Obviously, change positions. Always nice to change your position, and most women like to go on top. This is actually one of the best positions to reduce the risk of vaginal tears, believe it or not. So women, get up on there and ride those ponies. Ride that stick. Ride it like you've never ridden it before. But before you get there, really, really important, lots of foreplay, because that's usually where you get a lot of wetness right out there. And then actually, if you're getting all that foreplay on and getting really aroused, obviously it's more that you will not experience tears. And like I said earlier, if you do know that you have a cut or some sort of tear, please go see your gynecologist, because you do not want it to get to the point where even an infection can be caused. Because what's the first infection you are going to run to? Oh my God, you gave me an STD. And it may not even have been that. It could be an infection from, having sex and constantly getting that tear or cut in the vagina agitated. And you could even get irritated by a lubricant, even if it's a water-based. You don't know. There might be something in there that you may be allergic to, and you just never knew because you never used it. Or you knew you were allergic to it, but didn't realize it was in a lubricant. Ways of looking at that, my dear. Obviously, the next one is everybody knows, is a UTI. urinary tract infections. Very, very, very common cause of irritation, discomfort, and everything else. And it is a sex hazard, more for a woman than a man because of the way a woman is built. But men can get it if a woman has it, or you can get it and give it to a woman. It's one or the other. Now, we've got to remember our hands and our mouths as human beings are probably the dirtiest things going. So if you're having a lot of oral sex, especially female, that bacteria is going to get in to your genital area or the anus or whatever, and gets into the woman's urethra, bladder, or kidneys, and there you go, full banged UTI. The symptoms to them are very painful, like frequent and painful urination, which is the telltale sign for most people who know that. Low back pain and abdominal pain. So, with that being said, and before we continue on with our UTI, we are going to take the first break in the show. So, please get a drink, get a snack, come back, very, very important, and get relaxed. Find that little comfy chair. Because after the break, I will meet you back here for more Sex Talk with Andra, where the topic is sex hazards.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Welcome back to the next portion in the show, where our topic is sex hazards. Yes, they do occur when good sex, goes terribly wrong. But there are ways to go about it and to avoid them. So I hope that you got something to drink, keep you well plenished, something to eat, build up that energy, and that you are extremely comfortable, because we're going to continue on where we left off from the first segment, which was the UTIs, and going forward on that. That's where we are. Now we talked about how, it can happen, what some of the symptoms are, but a way in which you can prevent sex-related UTIs. Kind of practice these things. Good thing they will tell you to always do is urinate before and after sex, because it clears out your urethra of any bacteria, also relieves the bladder pressure, because if you're in the middle of sex and you gotta go pee, all you feel is pressure anyway. You're concentrating on that than what you're concentrating on the sex. And when you're aroused, sometimes it could be a little difficult to go pee, because now you're trying to concentrate on peeing as opposed to having an orgasm. So, and always be sure to empty your entire bladder every time you go to that bathroom before and after sex. Another good thing is please wash your hands before and after sex. And also, if you're playing around with your partner's anus, please wash your hands. Do not take that and then either go on another part of the body, as for a man, or for a woman go into the vagina with it, because all you just did is just gave that your partner a whole world of pain, lots of bacteria. It could be something that could develop into something very serious. Please remember, that's waste product that comes out of your anus, and it is nasty. And I don't think I need to tell you all of that, but sometimes you do. Obviously, drink lots of fluids. Drink a lot of water before. Very, very important. Lots and lots of fluids. Things that are going to go through your body and not dehydrate you. Like soda dehydrates you. So that kind of soda is adding to whatever problems that you are having at the moment. So water is very, very good to constantly drink a lot of, especially since you have to pee before sex anyway. So if you're flushing your system out with water right before sex, you should be ready, because water goes through your system and gets expelled. So you can go right in there and go pee, empty out your bladder and everything. It's just going to flush out any bacteria, and it's going to dilute your urine, which is really good. And actually, as I said, it makes you go to the bathroom, which is promoting frequent urination, which is very, very good because you are flushing out your body. So water is very good, which most people know is good for you anyway. Another thing, which is a sex hazard, sexual headaches, believe it or not. Some people get headaches which are caused by sexual activity. They're not generally anything to think about, but sometimes if they're really bad enough, it's kind of telling you something. It's signaling you to let you know that you either have a health problem, like low blood pressure, a brain tumor, believe it or not, or bleeding into the brain. Very, very important to watch those. I mean, if you've had a long day and then you went and had sex and it relieved a little or whatever, but you still have it, or is it every time you get a headache during sex, definitely go see your doctor. These headaches actually occur in both sexes, men and women, and it generally comes before or during an orgasm, or immediately after the sexual act and you guys are done. So these are times that you need to look at it. It may be all of a sudden, and then you get this like throbbing pain in your head or a dull ache in your head, and then it builds during sexual intensity as you're going further along and you're getting to that orgasm and everything is building up. Now, go see your doctor anyway. If it's the first time that you experience this, go and talk to them just to make sure. But if you all of a sudden realize that recent sexual acts have brought these on and the symptoms have intensified, because if that headache is accompanied with symptoms such as like stiff neck, vomiting, confusion, trouble with coordination, very, very, very important to go to the ER, go to your doctor, go to the ER and let them check you out, and maybe keep you overnight for observation. Very, very important to get checked because you don't know what it is. Now, the joke is that when someone wants to die, they want to die effing. During sex, they want to die during that moment because that is their happiest moment to them. One big thing that can occur, which most people know, is a heart attack. that vigorous sexual activity, it actually triples a person's heart attack risks, believe it or not. And this is in the hours immediately afterward. If you are not a very active individual, you're a little bit more at risk for that. But making sure that your ticker is in good health too is another thing. Now, very, very vigorous sex can trigger a heart attack. And this is generally in inactive people, but it can happen in other people. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. There are some red flags for you to pay attention to, which is obviously chest pain. Big one. If you all of a sudden get up and you're grasping your chest, obviously something is wrong. The chest pain is going to last a little longer than, agita. Yes. If it goes away and then returns, lasts more than a few minutes. The severity of the pain varies. It may be like severe pressure, squeezing, or fullness in your chest area, having that feeling. Next thing that comes along with it is that shortness of breath. And that's always around like the same time of the pain, or even before the pain starts. Because that might be the initial, oh my goodness, what the heck's going on? To you, you might be thinking, oh my God, I'm breathing heavy, the sex is good. And you'll continue. But then what would happen is you're going to start feeling chest pains and stuff. Be aware of that. Obviously, along comes the irregular or racing heartbeat, which are those lovely heart palpitations, which most people already know what they feel like. And there are other things you can look for. Fatigue, which is constant tired, nausea, back, stomach pain, lightheadedness. So remember to look out for those, especially if you're an inactive person. And on top of that, you haven't had sex in a long time either, which is a vigorous exercise. Go slow. Go slow to avoid any of these. Obviously, couples and a partner that people look into when it comes to heart attacks is the stroke, although all that has to do with the brain, the heart has to do with heart attacks, obviously, gives it away. Now, it does kind of also, a stroke can also be a cause from the heart, which it is not, to rule that out. Sex has been found to really cause a stroke, rarely cause a stroke. And it will usually happen if you have other health factors that are there. It kind of sort of will push it into effect. Generally like a minor heart defect called a patent foramen ovale. Yeah, ovale, or PFO. Typical of a PFO does not cause symptoms or complications. But, because if you have it and you know you have it, obviously you have doctors who are monitoring you and you're doing whatever you have to do, taking medication or whatever it is they had to do, putting in a monitor to monitor you from afar, whatever that may be. Your doctor is taking care of that, so you are very comfortable with knowing that and having that. However, stroke during sex can occur in people with PFO. And the link between the two, the PFO and the stroke, they really don't know how, because it's something kind of new. But there was a lot of research. There's probably more research going on. But they actually, there's a clinic in Cleveland who state that less than 1% of people with PFO have a stroke. But it can happen. It's very minimal, but it can. You don't know what's going to happen. If you have a heart condition, you have a heart condition. You have to take any dangers that would come up with it. Now, most people have been taught what the signs of a stroke are, generally called FAST. Face, arm, and you go on and on. Now, obviously the S is speech, which is the first. Difficulty speaking, you slur your words, or just overall cannot speak correctly. You've lost the function to speak properly. Severe headache. Headache comes out of nowhere. Yes, there are sexual headaches. Get them checked either way. If you all of a sudden feel weak or numb only on one side of your body, and especially if it happens suddenly, obviously your coordination of your body on one side is a lot of trouble that you're experiencing all of a sudden. And seeing double. And it's not to go in there and say, oh my God, the sex was good, I was seeing double. That is not a good thing. Please. Obviously, if you want to know more in this, American Heart Association is out there. American Stroke Association has the FAST, F-A-S-T, checklist, and look it up. Very, very, very important. You are playing with pleasure and pain, and sometimes sexual pleasure is in, impacted pain, and knowing the difference or realizing what the difference is and knowing when to stop is very, very important, because some of these things can happen. Even if you haven't had it, you don't know what happens. You don't know what's going to happen to you. Every day you get up, something's different. You don't know. Some people have had things happen, a heart attack or a stroke, and they're like fit as fiddles. So just remember that. On that note, we are going to take a break in the show. So, up to you if you'd like to replenish your drink and your snack, but I do recommend remaining comfortable. And I will meet you back here for more Sex Talk with Andra, where the topic is about sexual hazards, and they do occur.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be, visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Hello, welcome back to the third segment in the show, where our topic is sexual hazards. We don't want to have any problems with our sexual encounters and our having over-the-top orgasms. I completely understand that. Summer is coming, almost upon us. The weather is getting beautiful after a couple of freak storms. And, this year, I feel kind of bad for Texas there. But they seem to have pulled out of it very well. So, kudos. And continuing on, now we're going into the summer. You want to move that sexual rump and bump into either the pool, the hot tub, even on the beach. Now remember, you can go into the water and have sex. If you have a condom on, you can use it, unfortunately, due to whatever chemicals are in the pool, hot tub, or just the salt water, I would presume, in the water will degrade it. So we got to go in an opposite direction with that. Now, obviously, a sexual hazard overall is still that genital dryness. When you get into the water, kind of sort of, your body's like water wet. Yeah, you're getting wet, but it's kind of hard because your partner, again, is an outie. If not, they might use a toy or something, or whatever your fancy is in the hot tub or the pool or on the beach. But obviously, lubricant is a massive factor. Now, I know originally I said that you would use a water-based lubricant. Yeah, but we're on dry land. So when you go into the water and you want to have sex in the water, use a silicone-based lubricant, because now the water is not going to break it down. If it's a water-based lubricant, what happens when it goes in the water? It's water soluble. That means it'll just kind of sort of get washed away. Silicone will not. It's not soluble in water. That's why it is a good use in the water. And believe it or not, it is more slippery and less irritating than water-based versions of it. Just be cautious, to its use, especially if you're having sex in the tub or shower. Obviously, since silicone lubes are so slick, they can, if it gets down on the floor of wherever, it could make you slip and fall. And we don't want a bump on our head as well. Although it might be funny to laugh at later once both of you are A-OK and medically cleared. But getting to that point was not fun. And we don't want PTSD when it comes to sex. Next one, obviously, if we are on the beach, we need to watch for the sand in places you didn't even know you had, or where you don't want it. Ooh, not good. Obviously, caught up in the moment, you're not even thinking about that. You're just like, oh my God, I'm getting my groove on. We're on the beach. It's romantic. Yummy. But you need to think about that, because sex it's really bad when it comes to the friction, because all you're doing is just scraping it. It's like claws. So, stop. Sex on the beach is so much fun, but we have all these new types of blankets out there, believe it or not, that do not allow sand on, or basically get it off itself. I am just so amazed at the things that they are coming up with for beach wear and blankets and towels these days, where it will kind of sort of repel sand. So if you're thinking about it and you want to do that, make sure you get one of those. But overall, if you don't want to go out and buy something, you're caught up in the heat of the moment. Most people, the majority of people, have either a towel or a blanket in their car. And that's not even to think to go to the beach. It's just in their car all the time, because if, let's say, they spill something or something happens, you grab it or whatever. Or if you get cold and you're sitting in your car waiting for somebody or something, put your blanket on you or whatever. But do have that, because the sand will irritate your genitals. I don't think I need to dive into that any further. But it can get for a female, into your vagina and get caught in between your labia, and there goes so much discomfort. Men, believe it or not, it can get into the urethra hole in your penis. They don't exactly, you never hear them say that, but you guys know that. I'm sure you have not tried. Ooh, double negative. Ooh, all those English teachers out there are probably cursing me right now. But be smart. Have some water on hand, believe it or not, because you can probably just rinse off with the water, but do rinse off very, 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 very important. Usually beaches have those outdoor showers. Go in there and rinse yourself off. Get all the sand out of your body. But if you're bottled water and there's no shower, use that. Going into the salty water would not be a good idea, because to get the sand off, one, salty water has the salt. It's going to sting really bad. But there's still sand underneath the water. It's going to mix in with the water. And there's still going to be some sand there. So you're not exactly getting away from it completely. Now, next one is our lovely water balloon condoms. Really knowing how to avoid this is very important. The majority of condoms can be used in water, but there are two things to think about beforehand when doing so. First, if your condom is not precisely fitted to your penis, water can fill it and blow it up. Not smart. So you gotta put it on before you get in. Don't do it when you're in there. Get one that literally fits. Most guys are really good with this, so I can't complain. But most guys out there, you know it. You guys know what's good for you and what condoms are best. But do put it on before you get in, but hold it in place while you're getting in. Will control a lot of that as well. It's almost like they tell you not to wear a t-shirt in the water, because what does it do? You get in, it bubbles up, it can pull you under. I don't believe the condom is that strong to do that, but with the sense of the water will balloon it out, it will fill up with water. We're going with that one. And remember, the chemicals that are in the pool or in the hot tub can degrade the condom. So they have all those things out there now anyway. They got penis sleeves, which are thicker and everything like that. The silicone based lubricant, you should be okay with that. Just get the muscle man penis sleeve to work with as a condom. Why not? That's what they're there for anyway. Just get one that's like maybe silicone based or made out of silicone so that it doesn't degrade. And that might be very smart. Heaven only knows. Look into it. And the second thing would be, obviously, in a chlorinated pool or hot tub. It's exactly what I just said. They degrade the condom. Okay? And you don't want that. Salt water, however, there shouldn't be any problems with the condom. You might just want to go to a bathtub or something. Anyway, I still believe that if you're in salt water and having sex, which I'm assured most people have already tried, you're getting the salt and everything in there, and it's going to burn like a bastard, I'm assured. And don't want that. Very, very important. Because you want to be not sidetracked from your final destination sexually. How's that one sound? Now, going on to our lovely, and won't delve too much into this one because it is one that I've already said, a urinary tract infection. Obviously, how to avoid it, pee all the time, blah, 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 blah. But what you need to also know is when it gets warmer out, people having more sex, and you're really going to town on it because less clothes to get off and all that stuff. You're much more hornier. Your body's not kind of sort of not wanting to come out. It wants to come out. However, if you are, due to this, like having more sex frequently, you are more likely to have bacteria to enter the urinary tract, believe it or not, and cause the infection because you're having it more and more. Hey, I'm just saying that's what happens. Just really look out for all of those symptoms, the frequent urination, painful urination, cramping, fever. Some people do get a fever, so think of that to consider as well, and all that good stuff. Now, it is the summer. Why do we go to the beach? To get a tan, to look good, and see who gets darkest first. But if you're going there, we don't want to get a sunburn where the sun does not shine. Mainly men. Yeah, women get it, but men, you're on the outside. Whole entire penis is going to get a sunburn. Obviously, we don't constantly go to a nude beach. However, if you have a private backyard, you probably go out there and get a tan. Most people are not a regular at nude beaches, but want to wear skimpy bikinis or skimpy, what are they, swim trunks, or that little Speedo, and a thong at that. Interesting. Please look in the mirror before you leave the house. Generally, your genitals will not be exposed to the sun, but women's breasts, well, now we're going to the women, because what do women do when they go to the beach? They don't want to see a strap line tan. They take off their straps. They make it least amount of the chest area to be covered up by the bathing suit. So now your breasts will get sunburn, which hurts, I'm assured. Some people who are sitting in their backyard having a tan will go topless. Your nipples are very, very sensitive and are prone to really bad sunburn. You need to really put on an SPF of at least 30 before stripping down and letting it show. Summer months are fun. and fun sex. But please, if you're going to be outside and tanning, those are parts of your body, and they are covered with skin. Those epithelial levels are very sensitive in some areas. With that being said, I'm going to take the last break in the show. And completely, really, be comfortable. Stay right where you are. And I will be back with more Sex Talk with Andra on our topic of sexual hazards. We are now moving into our summer months, and we need to be cautious of our little genital babies.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Hello, and welcome back to the final portion in the show for, just today. Because I will be back. We are discussing sexual hazards. And with summer coming up, a few tips there, and sex becoming more of a gotta get and more frequent occurrence, things happen a little bit faster, a little bit more precautions that you might want to have to take. We talked about the, using water-based lubricant outside of the pool, silicone-based lubricant inside the pool. Gonna wear a condom on your little winky there. Do put it on before you get in, and hold it when you get in so it doesn't fill up with water. However, it's not foolproof, but you need to also know that the chemicals within the pool, the hot tub, and all that good stuff will degrade the condom. Possibly getting a sleeve or something might work. Then we're at the beach in the sand. Woohoo! You need to watch out for those little boogers. Cause more damage than nothing while you're trying to get your groove on. So do take precautions with that. Also with tanning, unless you go to a nudist beach all of the time. Most people will be in their backyard where they are much more comfortable and it's private, where they will go topless, mainly women, or completely full mounted. And unfortunately, our genitals and sexual areas, like the breasts, the nipples, penis, all that good stuff, is very sensitive and will sunburn. Unless you enjoy that pain, it still is not good overall. So think about as well. And moving along in our sexual hazards and things that can happen. Get a pulled muscle. Yes. Obviously, you get pulled muscles from doing the same movement over and over. So what is sex? The thrusting back and forth and back and forth. It's a repeated motion. You can strain a muscle and pull it. And this is, twisting your body too hard. And these pulling muscles could be in your belly, could be in your back. It could be in your leg, depending on what kind of position you are in at that time. And I still got to find a sexual position for you guys before I get off here. Haven't really found any that have tweaked my interests, is why I have not done it as of yet. However, obviously, during that orgasm, what we are reaching, you can have that tensing up in the thighs. You can pull a muscle there, and you're going to be sore after. Absolutely. Usually, that pain will let up after like a day or two, but if it doesn't, obviously you have pulled a muscle and you have injury. Please see your doctor, unless you want to constantly have it as a sexual trophy. Would not be wise for you, but hey, some people do it. Our lovely little friend carpet burn. Although you will be reminded of that lovely sexual encounter due to your war marks, if you want to call them that. Your war injuries, so to speak, sexual injuries of carpet burn. Obviously, that friction of rubbing against a rough surface, we all know how those feel. Usually like the rug, you can even get them on the floor, the wall, and all of that. Just a different way of friction burn. Those lovely scrapes and burns on your back, your butt, your legs, your knees. Knees. These are very painful for most, like I said, a little trophy and a reminder of how good this sex was. And generally are not serious, will heal on their own, and all that good stuff. However, if they do not, please, before you get a little bit busy in the old rump and stump, put something down that's going to be nice, soft, and comfortable where you might not get rug burns. But if you want the rug burns and you don't want to stop, you're right in the motion, and you're in the thick of it all, that's what's going to come up. And I don't think you mind those as much. Get some Neosporin, one of the best healing thingamajiggies out there. Best ointments out there for healing any boo-boos. And have your partner kiss your boo-boo better. Obviously, some people have gotten a condom stuck in their partner. You can also get foreign objects stuck. So, you're going to use some, you're going to experiment with sex toys, vibrators, dildos, anal beads, butt plugs, all in the lovely task of enhancing the pleasure of sex. But some people like to actually go for the household items. The cucumber, which is used as a dummy when teaching sexual health. Not something you should be using inside of your partner. But they will go for that cucumber or that electrical toothbrush, because what does an electric toothbrush do? Vibrate. Not very wise. A lot of people have a lot of toys right then and there at their disposal to play with. Just really be in tune to the objects that you use. You need to know that obviously if it's too short and you're sticking it into the vagina, you may just lose it up there. A condom get broken and get stuck up there. What makes you think that an object would not, especially in your anus? A little tighter area to get into. So you may, if that doesn't want to come out, a trip to the emergency room is on your list of things to do during that sexual pleasure. Or after, shall we say. You might cut it short, though. Heaven only knows. Believe it or not, you may get an allergic reaction. Never knew. And this might be after sex. It could be just as easy as you tried a new lubricant and your body said, I don't think so. Spermicides, condoms that have lubricant on them might be something, every company makes something different. So it may also even be something that your partner has on them, like a cologne or a lotion or something that you didn't even realize that you were sensitive to, but all of a sudden you got a rash after sex. Very rarely for someone to be allergic to semen or to a protein or something that like your partner ate or whatever, but it is not unknown that it can happen. You or your partner may have eaten something with nuts in it, and it got into, generally like with women, whatever they eat, if they're nursing, goes through the breast milk. So what would you think will go through the freaking semen? It's an oddity, but does happen. And it could just be what you've eaten, and say they eat something with peanut in it, realizing, thinking that, oh, well, it's out of there. I've washed my teeth, I've cleaned up before we had sex, but that little bit of remnant is still there, and your partner is very allergic. Probably didn't even know it, but are. Who's to say? You could have had peanut that you ate and then had oral sex with your partner. You don't know until it happens. Generally with allergies, if you were never allergic to before and you ate it, you're not going to have any symptoms. Allergies usually work the next time or a couple of times after, because what you are doing, you're putting it back into your system, and now your body is actually reacting to it. So if you get up and say, it never happened before, I eat it all the time or whatever, yet generally, unless it's really, really bad, it's not going to show up, and nothing's going to happen. The next time you eat that or come into contact, whatever that is when you'll actually get that reaction. A lot of people have allergies a little backwards, but if it's bad enough, it'll be instantaneous. For the most part, that's how allergies actually work. That's why when you were younger, you may have been allergic to something. When you get older, your body changed and it's no longer that. Or it could be the opposite effect. When you were younger, you used to eat this particular food or be able to put on wool or whatever. Now that you're older and your body's changed, your body's not exactly acceptable to it anymore. So remember that. Generally, an allergic reaction could start anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes after. Like I said, if it's a very, 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 very bad reaction, it will happen almost instantaneously. And knowing that they will last for a long period of time. Not something that you want to feel. Other sex hazards could be back injury, which one was the pulled nerve. Obviously, you do that in everyday life. If you move one swift motion, could throw out your back, and that is not exactly a muscle pull. That is, your vertebrae not working with you. It could be you're trying some new sexual position and you're picking up your partner. Now, you've carried your partner before, but remember, you're in the middle of, you're aroused, everything is going, your body is just in motion, and you pick them up the wrong way, and oop, there it goes. You are down and out for the count. Not something to look in, to enjoy. Now, Remember, if your back is bothering you already have a bad back, or hurts to bend over, or, you just did something and your back is hurting you. Obviously, just maybe skip a few things and kind of take it easy. Do the little cuddle kind of sex and spooning and stuff like that. It may be comfortable for you to do doggy style. Who knows? Heaven only knows. Your body is what's telling us this. So, we want to really pay attention to these things, please. And thank you. Another sexual hazard is a orgasmic. Can't even say the word. Wow. It's off of my tongue. Let's try that again. Post-orgasmic. There we go. Illness syndrome is a real syndrome. It is a rare condition, but nonetheless a real condition. You develop like flu or allergy-like symptoms after you orgasm, believe it or not. Fever, stuffy nose, sneezing, headache, itchy eyes, and it starts within seconds, or it can go up to a few hours after you've already had sex, believe it or not. And it actually can last a few days. So, generally, the doctor will not know what sets it off, but it happens after sex. Still working on that. They usually will, it is more, just to let you know, it is more common in men. They don't know what sets off the reaction. However, if you do have this, a doctor will generally give you allergy medicines or antidepressants that can very much help you. I know the antidepressants kind of sort of may have a reverse effect on your erection, but we also don't want you illed. So, there is also post-sex depression. Obviously, sex should be fun, but after you have sex, some people actually get post-sex blues, as they are called. They call this like depression and anxiety after sex, postcoital dysphoria. Some people actually become angry and lash out. Not a very good thing, and that's at the partner. Sex is upsetting instead of pleasurable to you. Very, very important to seek a doctor and a therapist and talk about it, please. And on that note, we are unfortunately at the end of my show for today, and only today, because I will be back. As always, thank you. Practice safe sex. If not for yourself, for your partner, and vice versa. Also, if you are trying anything new or experience one of these hazards, please educate, communicate, consent. Also, seek out the care of a doctor. A trip to the emergency room may be in your future. On that note, I thank you very much for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, which was brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Please, I ask to hit that little subscribe button right there. Give us 5 stars, especially me, because you like the sound of my voice and what I'm talking about. And leave a comment, a very nice comment, because it not only helps me, it does help the GSMC Podcast Network, knowing that they are bringing you what you want to hear. Also, I do ask that you seek us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, because we are also there. Please hit that little thumbs up, likey, or the little heart to give us some lovin' and leave us a comment. Let us know what you would like to hear on the show, or just give us a very good feedback. Very, very nice to hear from the fans. So on that note, thank you again. It is always a pleasure. Enjoy your sex pleasures. Just make sure that both of you are having fun, and be aware of those lovely little sex hazards in there. With the warm weather coming, your host Andra, saying bye-bye for now, and have good sex. And also a good day or night wherever you are. Bye-bye for now.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.